Welcome to Parallel World. My name is Jeremy Finestone, and alongside me is JD Oliva, and we are here to talk about Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp that came out this past weekend, and a lot of people have seen it. A lot of people haven't seen it yet. So, JD, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm interested to talk about this movie based on the box office returns. It seems like a lot of people have seen it, and the people like it. The critics, not as much, but yeah, it's got some interesting opinions to it. I'm real excited to get down and talk a little Quantum Mania with you, my friend.
Okay, so spoilers ahead, everybody. I just want to make that abundantly clear to anybody who's watching with us tonight. Spoilers. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Now that we've got that out of the way, everybody happy? Great. Let's move on. JD, I got two questions for you whenever I talk to somebody about a movie. Did you like it, and did you think it was good?
The answer is kinda.
Okay.
I kinda liked it. I kinda thought it was good. I didn't love this movie, but I didn't dislike it. I mean, I thought it was entertaining. I did fall asleep at one point in this movie.
Really?
I did.
You lead a busy life, so that is not indicative of the quality of a movie. That is more indicative of your life.
I was a little bored. Not gonna lie, but by the end got me. The end got me back into it.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm excited is the word, but I'm cautiously optimistic about where we go from here.
Yes. I liked it. I also thought it was good. I gave it, when somebody asked me, I gave it about a B plus. You know, it wasn't like it wasn't a C movie, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. It hit a threshold that I find acceptable and better than a lot of the recent entries that we've had. I had more fun with this movie.
I did not have as much fun as I was hoping I would have with an Ant-Man movie. And I think that's one of the things that hurt this. I think this movie skews it's very cosmic Marvel, which is the whole idea, right? We're very stooped in especially old school cosmic Marvel. It's very like Starlin, right? It's very 70s cosmic Marvel. Which I think is kind of not what I want from an Ant-Man movie. Like I think that it lost a lot of that humanity. I really feel like a lot of the humanity stuff was lacking from this movie.
It's kind of weird. I was thinking about this, and this might touch on what you're thinking. This did not feel like an Ant-Man movie in a lot of ways.
Damn dog.
Sorry. Oh, good. This didn't feel like an Ant-Man movie in a lot of ways. It felt like, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this or not, it felt like a Fantastic Four movie with the serial numbers filed off, down to all the concepts that are all familiar for a Fantastic Four movie, including MODOK. If you switched him out with Psycho Man, you have a lot of Fantastic Four stuff going on.
I agree with you. I actually, if you tell me this is a Fantastic Four movie, I'm going to tell you this is the best Fantastic Four movie that's ever come out, right? Because I don't think any of the three Fantastic Four movies are great, to be honest with you. But this one really does function on that Fantastic Four level, especially if you boil down to, if you're like me and you subscribe to the Mark Waid philosophy that the Fantastic Four are adventurers more than superheroes.
Yes.
Right? This was very much, it's a lot like, you ever see Fantastic Voyage? Right?
Yeah.
It's very much like that, where they get shrunk down and they get put in the human body, and that's like a different universe. And that's very much what Quantumania is. And there's even like some cantina scenes, if you will, like with the collection of your strange aliens and all that. It's it feels a lot more like Fantastic Four than it does like Ant-Man, quite frankly.
We have reached a formula with the Marvel movies, and you have a foreign place with dynamics that are familiar, like a bar. You've seen it in Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. You've seen it in Thor Ragnarok and Love and Thunder and all these cosmic / otherworldly movies. Even like the Doctor Strange movie. You always have something that is rooted in the extra normal, but with a basis of familiarity of how you can relate to it. Mm-hmm. And it's a formula that they've been doing in these movies. And it kind of like exposed itself a little bit in this one as just being like going back to the well one too many times in terms of how they try and move the narrative forward.
It's very tropey in that regard. And when I didn't think about it until you point, like I refer to it as a cantina scene, because it's like for me, that's like always gonna be the Star Wars cantina scene. Is the familiar? It's like the Western, the saloon, but you're going in there, and instead you've got in this case, literally a broccoli person, and like all these bizarre aliens. But yeah, we've seen that, we've been there, we've done that. Sometimes I'm not sure if Peyton Reed was the right director for this movie. You know, I don't know if his sensibilities quite lend themselves to, for lack of a better term, the fantastic. You know, like he's really good at like the fun poppy stuff. Like I really think this movie, it knows what it wants to be, but I don't know if it should be what it wants to be. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It has goals and objectives, and it's an octagonal like peg going into a round hole in a lot of ways, where it doesn't quite fit, but it still gets the job done. And so, like, you come away with something that is a little bit off kilter, I guess.
Yeah, very.
Like, just it exists its own thing. There are going to be people that say this is my favorite movie of all of the Marvel stuff, and I can see why with the familial themes and stuff like that.
You think so? You think people?
There are people that
really?
that like have dynamics that are similar to this that can really identify with like mixed family dynamics that all of a sudden come through, and not the family that you have, the family that you make kind of thing, and. Again, Fantastic Four in a lot of ways where they're not all related, but they're all still a family. So I can see a lot of people identifying with that the way that some people identify with Black Panther, or some people identify with Captain America with patriotism, or technology with Iron Man. You know, just there are things about it that will strike a chord with a certain element of the
I feel you on that, but I also feel like I say it's tropies. I feel like this is also like Guardians. Right, like I feel like it's the exact same themes and motifs that we hit on in the Guardians movies.
And it's like Ragnarok, the breakout of the entire like the planet under the thumb of a guy who got everything under control. Like we've seen this before, but you know they've twisted and like kind of pivoted the dynamic so that you can kind of work with it a little bit differently. You know, so. A B is basically what I would give it. If it were a Fantastic Four movie, you're right. It'd probably be the best Fantastic Four movie. But let's talk about something that I thought worked. And what about you? What did you think about Kang?
I love Jonathan Majors' performance. I think he is. It's very Pacino-esque at times. What I mean by that is like there's times he's like chewing on the scenery. Right, he can be so operatic and verbose at times, and there's a lot of times where he's kind of understated and a little bit more mellow, but I think he's a really good comic booky villain. I think that he elevates his performance to a level where the character becomes intriguing, but at the same time, we don't really learn a lot about Kang as a character, right? Like, what does he do? How do his powers work? What's he really
a plot
about?
Device more than a character.
I agree 100%. I think he's a plot device, especially for the guy who's supposed to be the next big Marvel thing. I don't think we learn enough about him as a character, especially if you haven't seen Loki, right? Sure. I think it really, you can be like, well, I don't understand what this guy's supposed to be. Like if you didn't see the whole one above all thing, or have like well-versed in the Marvel, the true MCU, your 616 stuff, I could see people being like, because my wife doesn't have anything. And she was like, I don't really get it with him. And I kind of had to agree. So I think Jonathan Majors has a really, really good performance in it and elevates what he's given, which really isn't that much, to be honest with you.
I nerded out at the reveals of his costume and the maximizing of his power and the blue like armor plated face and all the things that were like the nerd buttons were pushed in a way that like the fan service was completely and utterly given to you. Let's see what we got here. Damien Gonzalez, plot hole for King of Can't Escape. If the Cade variants weren't free until He Who Remained was killed in Loki season 1, how could Janet have met him prior? Because he was the one that was exiled to the other world. He was so bad that they stripped him of all of his things and sent him to the other world, and he was meant never to escape. And so before Janet got out of there, she ran into him and helped him when she touched the ship she learned about how awful he really was, and then she got away from him, and then somehow she got out of the other world, the microverse or whatever what did they call it?
The quantum verse.
The quantum realm.
The quantum realm, thank you. Microverse is pretty much how we refer to it in the comics.
Well, the microverse is funny because there is a character in here, Jarella, that is based out of the microverse. So they are playing fast and loose with all the microverse and the quantum realm, and even one of the Hulk plot points.
I don't think they can use the term microverse because I believe that's licensed to Micronauts, which is a Hasbro thing.
They pivoted the character of Jarella, which was the woman chiefess character that Cassie broke out. She was based out of a Micronauts comic, which is really interesting. Anyways, damn it, I hope I explained that. He was apparently so bad that the Council of Kings got rid of him, and I don't know if it has anything to do with Loki on that council. I think he was banished before that all happened. And so he's still trying to get out, but there's other Lokis that they're trying to hold back, which might be the Council of Lokis in general. He who remains might have been trying to protect them from the Council of Kings. I apologize, not Council of Lokis.
This stuff can be confusing sometimes.
It can be.
With variants and all that. And we get to that post-credit sequence.
They also conditioned us with this.
They did. That's a good point. Which I thought
was very clever. Yeah. They use this to introduce that multiple versions of the same reality because of chronotemporal issues. Council of Kings, Council of Scott, the chronotemporal issue. It introduced you to a multitude can all exist at once with different ideologies and beliefs that can all line up with the same thing. So when you got to the end of the Council of Kings, you were already somewhat conditioned that they can all exist in the same time plane. Which I thought was
I agree. Again, I like that sequence with Paul Rudd and the Scott Lang character. I did think while watching it, imagine how much cooler the sequence would be if Sam Raimi was directing it. Like a director with a little bit more of a visual flair who could make it spooky, and make it a little unnerving. And I think that again, I think that's some of the things that hold back this movie are the direction, quite frankly. I think this was a big bite for Peyton Reed. And I think he extended himself, but I think he's a little bit out of his comfort zone, which is good. You always want to challenge yourself a little bit, but I think this would have been a film better left to someone who has a more grandiose vision of all this. Is John Waters still attached? John Waters. I'm sorry, the guy. Not John Waters. I blanked. The director of Spider-Man.
Wow.
Who directed Spider-Man? The Spider-Man movies. It's Waters. I can't think of his first name.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
He was attached to do the Fantastic Four. I don't know if he still is or not.
It's all up in the air on that one. Yeah. The choice was basic, and I don't mean that in like an insulting way, but it was a safe choice to just make a commercially viable movie with the director that they trust.
Who's done the first two
out of Paul Rudd and the rest of the cast, because that is a cast in which you can't just have a random off the street fresh faced director directing Michelle Pfeiffer and Kirk Douglas or Michael Douglas. It just doesn't happen,
No.
Like there has to be some level of respect and rapport and relationship. So I get why it was probably just the safe, most politically viable. Like, this is the guy. Let's go with him.
And they probably like him. Like, he's probably got a good relationship with his cast, and they trust him, and that's an important thing. I just don't think that this... And again, he said it's not like he doesn't do special effects stuff, because the last three Ant-Man movies are special effects-driven films. I just think this one was a big stretch for him.
We're in a safe place in the Marvel movies. Like, there's no need for them to take these, like, chances with their movies. Like... They know that they have an audience that are going to show up for day one. So as long as you stick to the tropes and the formulas, and people are, and they're at least interested in and knowing that they're going to be entertained when they go see that movie. And what the DC movies don't have.
That's true.
The reputational stability of knowing that you give your $10, your $15, your $20 to go see this movie. Mm-hmm. You're not going to wish that you hadn't spent the money.
No,
You know,
that's
like
true.
I was at least interested in that with this one. I waited for Wakanda Forever. I waited for Eternals. I think I saw Love and Thunder in the theater, but I'm at a point where I'm picking and choosing because the Marvel fatigue is definitely real.
Oh, I've been experiencing it for about a year now. I have not watched any of the shows, with the exception of Werewolf by Night. Like I saw the
The
first
one
couple,
and
but
done known as Werewolf by Night.
yeah, I didn't like it
John
all that much.
Watts, Damon Gonzalez coming through.
John Watts, not Waters. Like, you see where I got confused though?
I do.
I'm an idiot.
You
No,
needed hydration. You just needed
ooh, that's
water.
deep.
And so
That's
you were thinking about it.
deep like water. Deep water. No, yeah, I think that what were we talking? Oh, the Marvel fatigue. I think that it's real. Like I said, I did not care for the Werewolf by Night, but I haven't really been watching any of the Marvel shows because I don't know, man. I'm feeling kind of burnt out on stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like last year of Spider-Man, man, I was all invested, and then it's been a hard one. Like I really like Multiverse, that was fun. Wakanda Forever was good, but it didn't feel like a superhero movie, right? It felt like something different. But a lot of other things have had a real hard time grabbing me. Love and Thunder was disappointing. Like this was, like I said, this was all right. It was fine, but it was like it's definitely a step up from Black Adam, like multiple steps up from Black Adam. A movie that I thought was fun. I thought Black Adam was fun. It was dumb. This is a lot better than that. Like Marvel movies have this like I don't want to say I grade them on a curve, but I kind of like going in. I know I'm going to get something fun, right? I know I'm going to be entertained for the most part. So, like a semi-fun Marvel movie is still way more fun than any DC movie ever made, right? With Shazam was a lot of fun, but that's about it. Like, you don't go to DC movies and go, man, that's a lot of fun. It's like, man, there's a lot of bad things that happen to people in these movies.
The body of DC movies versus the body of Marvel movies is disparate.
James Gunn and Peter Safran have their work cut out for them. We'll leave it at that.
They definitely do. Let me ask you, the 5 characters, the 5 basically protagonists in this movie, do you feel like they all had a complete arc in some way, shape, or form in this movie?
No, I don't think Hope or Pym do at all. I think they're just kind of there to play support, which is fine, by the way.
Yeah.
Not every character needs a full arc. Like Pym is there to kind of play backup, right? He's like your rhythm guitar player. He does do the Reed, like you said, the Reed Richards thing here. It's fine. I think this very much was Michelle Pfeiffer's movie. Like she is the driving force of this movie, and she's good. Like they didn't utilize her a lot in the second Ant-Man movie. They really lean into her in this one because she's super talented. Rave about how great she looks at her age all you want, but she's always been just a fantastic actress. And they really lean into her a lot, and she's able to carry some stuff that when you think about it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Right, just as far as character motivations go and stuff like that, I think that she does a great job. I think Cassie Stature has a pretty good character arc in this story. Like, and I think, of course, Scott has probably the most change. Like, he's the most, like, when you talk about a story, like, again, I'm a Robert McKee guy. So story is character starts out here, character goes there, and throughout the course, they're changed. Scott is the one who I think goes through the most change.
I mean, he does develop crippling anxiety by the end of the film.
Absolutely does, which is something that he really doesn't ever have. Like, he kind of realizes that he might have pooched everything, right? And he might have accidentally made things worse, which is a very... it's not what you think of as your typical hero journey story.
It's
but
the Blue Beetle Booster Gold kind of dynamic. Where
kind
it's
of
like, I think I did this, but maybe I didn't. Let's find out.
But that we haven't had that from a Marvel movie yet. No. So I was really like I said, by the end of Act 3, I was into it. Like there's big stretches of Act 2 that I kind of lost my interest in this, but I thought Act 3 delivered. I thought it worked. And I think a big part of it too is the character development with Paul Rudd and with Michelle Pfeiffer's characters. I think they worked out really well. And then, like I said, Janet and Hope or not Janet, sorry, Hope and Cassie are kind of along for the ride, and same with Pym. Like he's just kind of there, like almost like not like a Doctor Who fashion, but I mean, like you say, Reed Richards is very much a good way to describe it because Reed never changes, right? Any of the stories of the Fantastic Four, Reed is Reed, and it's oftentimes what gets them in trouble is Reed being Reed.
Damien says there's a cute Easter egg in the movie for those who watched WandaVision, but you also don't need to have seen it to get it. I have seen some edits out there where
I
they've
missed
taken
that.
four clips, one from Multiverse, one from Spider-Man No Way Home, one from WandaVision, a couple of them, and they're all just kind of conflated, and all the spells and all that seem to be like in singing. I think it's wild. I'm not 100% sure there's anything to it, but there are a lot of people doing some real diligent work on the internet with this.
Yeah.
There is one thing I will add. There is one Easter egg I did notice.
What's that?
If you watch Doctor Strange
Uh-huh.
in the council where Reed Richards appears via the portal, the time portal,
Uh-huh.
the time platform, is how all the Kangs arrived via the time platform at the very end of the movie. It was the exact same technology.
Well, that's interesting. I did not notice that. That's
yeah. So we have a lot to play with that. There is one thing that I love in Marvel, and that is the application of real science in some bullshit Marvel way. And so we had that in this movie with something called the Kardashev scale.
I'm going to kick back on this one because I got no idea what you're talking about at this point.
So in the beginning of the movie, Hank Pym was talking about his ant farm, who was working with quantum energy inside the little ant home that they had. By the middle of the movie, there was a reveal that the ant had gone through temporal spatial displacement and had elevated itself thousands of years and gained hyperintelligence, so on and so forth. This is actually based off of a real scientific theory called the Kardashev scale, which is a method of measuring a civilization's level of technological advancement based on the energy that is available to use. Earth is a level one civilization, whereas those ants harness the power of its own energy of its own sun, so they'd be a level 3 civilization. They applied something like this that was then curated even more by Carl Sagan. I looked into this. I was like, where is this coming from? And this is a real scientific principle theory that they lifted, that Hank Pym used to explain how these ants created their own evolution and made themselves able to take on Kang at the end of the movie.
Okay.
Wild.
I got none of that. I'm not gonna lie. I am a writer who subscribes to the Doctor Who notion of you just talk about things and pretend they're real. We reverse the polarity method of these things. But I believe everything you just said.
Let me just put it to you this way. It is a classification scale for hypothetical extraterrestrial civilizations. So it's how to measure how a civilization would evolve and how fast and what they would need to do that. And so while in the quantum realm, Hank Pym's ants exponentially by a level of 10,000 increased their efficiency and output as a civilization to the point that they had technology capable of completely overrunning Kang with what resources he had that was able to put the rest of the quantum realm at his knee. And Hank Pym had figured that out, and they used that scientific application, total nerd stuff, and then they used it and used the explanation as to why these ants would have been able to move forward and completely destroy Kang. It was nerdy as fuck.
You think Kang is destroyed, or do you think he's just temporarily on the shelf?
Temporarily on the shelf.
Yeah, me too. I think we're gonna have issues with Kang and his Kang Council. Also, Kang. I was gonna mention this before. Damien beat me to it.
Was that Immortus, or was that the Nathaniel Richards Kang in the silver jumpsuit?
I believe it was the Scarlet Centurion. Yeah, I believe that's who that was.
There's Immortus, Ramatat, and Scarlet Centurion that they're playing around with right now as the top 3. But I looked at it, I was like, that's kind of Nathaniel Richards. I don't know.
Very much. I mean, Kang is Nathaniel Richards, so I think, again, we steer back into our Fantastic Four-ness of this whole thing.
I got another theory about the Fantastic Four.
Go for it.
About all this. I don't think Kang is the big bad of this entire cinematic timeline.
You've
If you're
expressed
looking
this.
at this,
You expressed this to me before, so good sir, I will let you have the floor because I want to hear you break this down.
if you really think about this, they have blown a lot of their currency with Kang already. You have basically shown that Ant-Man could take down one Kang. As much as you want to drive home the plot narrative, y'all go spotted a Scroll King. I did not.
I didn't see that one.
Rad.
That's cool.
So you're going through this thing, and you've established that he's vulnerable. And you've established that there's a number of them, but you haven't established that he's unstoppable. And so you're looking through all this stuff, and then you get through phase 5, and you got all the TV shows and Thunderbolts and all that, and then you're getting to phase 6. And this is, November 2024. So we're talking 18 months away. I don't buy these timelines right now at all. There's no way that movie's coming out in a year and a half, number one. But
yeah,
if there's a Fantastic Four movie, I'd almost certainly think that Doom is going to be involved. I thought Doom was going to be involved in Wakanda Forever in some way, shape, or form. And it actually kind of bummed me out that he wasn't. I thought he would be the kind of guy that was manipulating everything. It could be revealed that he still is. But I think he comes through and you get a full slate with him in Fantastic Four. I think you get Avengers, good Avengers and bad Avengers in a war with all the kings in Avengers Kang Dynasty. And then I think Doom co-ops all the power, and then Avengers Secret Wars becomes Doom as the big bad, controlling all the Kang powers throughout all the multiverse and recreating all of reality to his whim, where the Fantastic Four and Ant-Man and all the other heroes have to team up through all their disparities. Perhaps all of the heroes that have been there, like Chris Evans and Tony Stark, all have to take him down. But I think Avengers Secret War is actually going to be the 2010 decade Secret Wars plot where Doom was in charge of it all.
I can see that. Looking at this map right now, I think we're definitely not going to hit all the marks. The Blade director quit. He's starting from scratch on that one. And the Fantastic Four, like, we're not going to get a Doom until we get an announcement of who's playing Doom, because they're going to want to hype that up a little bit.
Yeah, they moved back the Marvels to November on this one. Blade's done. Captain America, I kind of believe. Daredevil, that's bold, but I believe it. But yeah, Ironheart and Echo and a couple of these, but Guardians of the Galaxy and Loki, they're all on track. They're all moving forward ahead, but we haven't even had casting announcements for Fantastic Four.
No, and you better have those. You got to have those within the next 2 months, because that thing needs to go into production soon. Damien says he agrees. It's either the Beyonder or Doom. Okay, here's a legit.
We must be right.
Here's a legit question: would a MCU universe fan accept something as wild as the Beyonder? And does he look like Michael Jackson in this new iteration?
I think yes, because it existed in a time where they were not old enough to have an opinion whether it was right or wrong to have the Beyonder. So therefore, it is part of their like comic Bible, and you cannot. If you introduce the Beyonder, you have to be as faithful to the adaptation as you can be. Otherwise, you will suffer the wrath of the people who will not accept anything but the faithful translation. If this costume right here didn't look like this costume, which, by the way, I did not mean for those to be almost near identical pictures.
They really are. Nice job.
I was super impressed. I was looking at it like, wow, that is a hell of a costume. Like, that is a faithful, traditional costume. And we've been through the positions and the movies where the costumes suck, the X-Men movies, and it's just a bummer. So if the Beyonder doesn't look like, the Jerry curled
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Looks like Michael Jackson.
Jerry curled Michael Jackson. I thought it was more of a Eric LaSalle kind of, but Michael Jackson.
He's absolutely Michael. Is Michael Jackson wearing white instead of red? It's totally Michael Jackson.
Oh man, I can't unsee it now. Damn you.
I would love to see how you pull off the Beyonder, and if that is in fact a bridge too far for normal people, right? Because comic fans, you just accept, oh yeah, this guy can control space and time. Sure, you know, I don't. I'm curious to see if like normal fans are like easy to get on board with one of the more out there concepts in the Marvel universe, because we're getting there, man. Like the Council of Kangs. If you'd have told me 12 years ago,
Council Reeves, and we got a Council of Kangs.
Yeah.
So
like this is like if you'd have told me 12 years ago that we were going to get this after the original Avengers movie, I'd have called you crazy. But here we are. Like it's getting wild with what they're getting away with, and I can't help but think it's only a matter of time till we get a proper Galactus, right?
Eventually, like we've seen the Watcher in the animated series, and we've seen the same characters that the Watcher is introduced into the Marvel cinematic. So by transitive properties, you know that the Watcher exists. We've seen him actually in the movies now that I think about it. With Stan Lee at one of the movies. I don't even remember which one. Oh, one of the Guardian of the Galaxy movies. They were warp jumping, and the Watcher
was there. Yeah, Guardians
Easter
2.
egg that maybe they didn't think about it at the time, and they're gonna want to come back to him. So I think we're gonna get a lot of the bigger, more familiar cosmic entities, not like a gas planet Galactus and a bargain store Silver Surfer, but like real versions of these. I'm curious about the Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy. I wonder if he's there to take out Gamora because she's not from this like universe kind of thing, and so he like can sense that kind of thing, and he's trying to like rid the impurity in the universe, starting with her. Like that's kind of where I think the Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of going. But that's my vibe.
I'm curious to see what this version of Adam Warlock is. Damien says, dude, I can't believe we got the Illuminati incursions and cosmic done right. Yeah, like they've attacked the biggest high concepts in the Marvel universe and done justice by them.
They've taken the last 20 years and like lifted the best things out of it and made a lot of money off of it.
Yeah. A lot of Hickman-esque stuff
Brubaker,
right now.
Hickman.
Brubaker. Yeah, Brubaker for sure. The Winter Soldier. Like, that I can see. That was really easily, like, the Winter Soldier, like, when they announced it, like, oh, that makes perfect sense. That's very easily translatable. This stuff, I mean, like, like I said, at this point, with Quantum Realm, we're doing, like, crazy-ass, Jim Starlin tripping on peyote stories. Yeah. Like weird.
We're gonna get to the point where we're gonna have the Shi'ar in X-Men movies, and you're just be like, "Oh, it's cool. They're just the Shi'ar. They know the scrolls."
Like I'm still waiting for X-Men movies. First of all, I think that I want to see how Marvel does X-Men movies, right? Because they have to look and feel different than the Fox movies, and I can't wait to see what that means, right? Hickman isn't easy to translate. No kidding. Hickman's not easy to read all the times.
The little picture stuff is not.
The man has to create flowcharts for his comics so you understand his concepts. And even then, you're still like, the Maker. I want to see the Maker.
Who's the Maker?
That would be interesting. Isn't that's from Hickman's New Avengers run. That was one of like the high concept like universe creators, I believe.
Got it.
Yeah,
with
that was I think so. Yeah,
the big yellow guy with the horns.
I believe that's what that was. I believe that was some out there stuff actually.
That allowed him to make the X-Men House of X, Powers of X, and for that, I'm fine. If that stuff didn't exist, House of X wouldn't exist because they wouldn't let him get that fucking wild.
Dude, I texted you today. I'm like, they turned Beast evil? Like I couldn't. Like I feel like every 2 months or so, I text you about what's going on in X-Men. They send out a press release, and I'm like, I can't believe this. And I want to start reading it, and it's the problem of reading X-Men is it's so dense. You're always like, where do I start? Like it's so hard to jump into the X-Men at any point since 1992. It's been hard to just jump into X-Men.
Oh, Maker of the Ultimate Universe is Reed Richards. That shitty.
Oh, that's who the Maker is?
Yeah.
Oh, I was way off.
I didn't know that was his name.
Me neither. I thought he had a different name.
Damien Gonzalez needs to just come with us on the next show.
Yeah, Damien, you're hired. Who am I thinking of then? Who was the one that? Who were those? Like, because Hickman introduced a bunch of like characters early in his New Avengers run that were all
like Brave New World
gods. They're all gods
with
basically.
the weird maps and on the. Yeah, I remember all that.
Very Hickman-y stuff.
And it was all leading toward the Infinity storyline with Thanos, right? Like where Thanos and his nuclear, where they took a lot of the Endgame and Infinity War. They took a lot of stuff.
Tons. Thanos. I can't remember. What did this Thanos's assassins group? I can't remember what he called them off the top of my head. Like the Ebony Maw and all those guys.
Yeah, the Vought something or
I can't remember what he called it.
Maybe, I don't know.
Something, I forget what he called it. It's
but yeah, they were there, and then 5 years later they're in the movie, and they're like, wow, that was crazy. That was a turnaround.
Because they actually took more inspiration from Hickman's Infinity Gauntlet stuff than the Starlin Infinity Gauntlet stuff. Like there's some, but a lot of like they kind of blended both of those. Like they blended Infinity and Infinity Gauntlet together.
Black Order.
Thank you very much. God. Dude, Damien's on the ball tonight.
When you start bullshitting and going down the rabbit hole, you can't remember these things. Like,
no, exactly.
Unless it's Damien Gonzalez, who's just like ready to go.
It's like when you're in the throes of conversation, you're like, oh, remember that one thing? And someone else on the outside, oh yeah, it's this. You're like, yes, that's the thing. Black Order, great. That was a good story. I really like Hickman's Avengers run. It's weird, but it's really good.
I wish whatever Substack he was doing was actually going on, because I don't feel like he's actually gotten much off the ground since he kind of went away from the X-Men stuff.
I don't know what I think about Hickman's like creator-owned stuff. Like I read East of West and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Went a little too long.
I buy that.
Yeah, just like some of those books they just need to wrap up a little bit quicker. But now we have Thread Drift. So we're on the same page though. Would you say it possible that Dr. Doom could be coming down the pike for this?
Dr. Doom is definitely coming down the pike. I just don't know when. Like, I would hate for them to tell us that Kang is the big villain for all this stuff, but no, it's actually Doom. Like, I kind of want, but again, Doom has to play a bigger role if the Fantastic Four movie is appearing in the very beginning of what basically launches Phase 6, right? So Doom has, because you can't have Doom playing like.
Doom has to be the second fiddle guy.
He does. He's Doom. And Doom, quite frankly, Doom, there's a lot more accrued interest in Doom than there is in Kang. The problem is that no one's ever done Doom right.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of subpar Dooms.
You can't sustain Doom for the entire Phase 4 and Phase 5. But if you were to tell me that Doom has something to do with the Thunderbolts and the Contessa kind of recruiting all these people and being like the shadow person there, or maybe like has something to do with the secret invasion in some way, shape, or form that could be coming down the pike here, there, or everywhere. If you were to tell me that somehow he had a way, shape, or form involved in all of this, I would completely buy it. I mean, we've had things like in WandaVision. You could argue now that the Quicksilver was an incursion that we just didn't realize at the time,
which I think is what it was, quite frankly.
Right, like they were doing these things and intentionally not giving you the answers to them, but letting you know that these things have to be like that. Someone named the Contessa has to be Latvian. Fuel to the fire, man. Fuel to the fire.
I mean, like it makes perfect sense. Like, especially if you're going to bring Doom in that way, because Doom is the perfect foil to any Shield or Shield type organization, right? Like, I assume that the Contessa's group, her Thunderbolts, are going to play a major role in the Captain America New World Order movie. It seems like that would be a good place to start pushing us toward Doom, because I believe the next movie after that would be Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So those two have to connect somehow, right?
I mean, there's definitely a logic of leaping from Captain America to the Fantastic Four, even if there was an introduction to the Fantastic Four there. But it sure feels like, I don't know, would you do like a Fantastic Four from another reality coming in and all of a sudden making this reality their home, and that kind of
I actually think that works great with the Fantastic Four because I think that, like I said before, it fits the Mark Waid mold of what the Fantastic Four are. They're explorers, they're adventurers, they're not superheroes. And I've often wondered, because again, the Fantastic Four are, I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but the Fantastic Four in the beginning of the Marvel, the 616 Marvel, they're the flagship characters, right?
Mhm.
They're the ones who jump started everything. At this point, where 15 years, wow, into the MCU, wow, we are 15 years in.
Mhm.
It's a little late to just introduce. Oh, by the way, this is the Fantastic Four, and them get it started. Just, I almost think it would be better if they were from a parallel universe.
All right.
I think that, and it kind of works because I mean, think about it. Like the Fantastic Four, they had the spaceship hits the Van Allen belt, and they get bombarded with cosmic rays. They get their powers. I almost think it'd be better if they're from a different universe.
King destroyed their world. They're exiled on another
Yeah,
world, and they make this their home. It all kind of ties together.
I like that actually. Yeah, it does work.
So,
Yeah, Jeremy, I had my doubts when you pitched this Doom thing to me before. You have convinced me that Doom is coming and in a major way. I am now going to be as disappointed as I was with Mephisto not showing up in WandaVision if he doesn't show up.
you are now a Doombot.
I am so be it. I am a Doombot.
So be it. What? Any other random thoughts that you have about this movie?
I enjoyed it. I think the performances were good. I think the script's a little weak, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's as far as Marvel movie goes, it's a C plus B minus for me. But I think it gets us to where we're going in a good way.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's a vehicle, which I hate. I hate the movies become this, but let's be real. These Marvel movies don't function like normal movies do. They're all chapters to a bigger tapestry. So, and what is this? This is essentially Iron Man Part 31 at this point.
Sure.
Right?
It was 31st movie.
Yeah, I think it's a third or Marvel
chapters
project.
in a Marvel anthology.
And that's kind of what I feel like. I feel like these Marvel, it's like you're watching a TV show more than you're watching a movie. So like,
it's a Marvel cinematic anthology at this point.
It really is. I mean, like, it's so crazy to me how these movies have perfectly simulated or encapsulated, depending on how we look at the effect of reading comics, right, and following a comics universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've actually taken that experience and transposed it onto watching movies. I never in a million years thought it would work, but it does.
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. So yeah. It was not my favorite entry point, but I like where we're going from here.
There you go. So there's a couple of random tidbits about this movie that I picked up that I'm going to give you Marvel nerd knowledge about.
Nerdus.
So Kryler, played by Bill Murray, is from Incredible Hulk 156.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Hulk gets sent to the microverse, and he is a leader of a group of assassins and mercenaries. He is green in the comic, and before the issue ends, he's dead, much like in the movie.
That's a deep cut.
That is a deep cut.
Bill Murray.
Tora, one of the travelers, is another member of the Freedom Fighters of the Quantum Realm, but she is a queen of a group of people from another planet in the microverse, as I mentioned earlier on. So that's where she was exiled from. Quaz, who was played by William Jackson Harper, who was in The Good Place, a fantastic TV show if you haven't seen it. And a lot of people's top pick to be Reed Richards in the next movies. He was a telepath, and he discovered a number, 18147. Do you know what the symbolism of that number is?
181417?
18147.
No.
Avengers 181 is the first appearance of Scott Lang. And Marvel Premiere 47 is the premiere of Cassie Lang. So they conflated those numbers and created that combination for the digital thing in the movie.
That's nerdy as all hell.
Nerdy as fuck. Nerdy as fuck. Victor Timely.
Victor Timely, this was cool. I like this.
So, second cutscene, Victor Timely. Cutscene goes directly into the thing. This is from Avengers Annual 21.
Victor Timely, one of his mentees was Phineas.
The guy who created the Human Torch.
The Human Torch. We're back to the Fantastic Four, who we saw in the original Captain America movie. He's in a bubble. The Jim Hammond Human Torch. We've seen him in the MCU. That just hit me. We have. I'll be damned.
We got one last thing that we have not covered yet. Are you ready for it?
Lay it on me.
Let's talk about MODOK.
I can talk about how disappointed I was with MODOK.
Really?
Oh, super disappointed. And I think that I did not like the MODOK show all that much. I checked out the first episode, thought it was stupid.
Yeah, I checked out on that.
It was dumb. But I thought the casting of Patton Oswalt as a character like MODOK worked. I thought bringing Corey Stoll back sounded good on paper, looked like crap as a special effect.
It was pretty dumb as a special effect.
Played out even worse because like you have this ridiculous looking character not played ridiculous enough. Like I thought that they didn't. Yeah. It looked like shit.
You either have to go all the way, or
that's what I felt like.
But they went 80%.
I agree. They did not commit all the way to the dumbness that is MODOK, right?
Yes.
And they kind of tried to, like I said, it was cute how they try to tie it back into the first Ant-Man movie. He gets sucked in the quantum realm. Okay. But again, the performance that was given was not nearly unhinged enough. It was the level of unhinged that he played an Ant-Man, which was fine. But for this, look at this guy. Just look at him.
You know what he looked like? He looked like the idol in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
A little bit. And then, like I said, it was a really bad special effect. And like, it wasn't stupid enough, right? Like I felt like you needed Patton Oswalt and his voice and his presence or someone like that to make this work. I thought this, and again, the rehabilitation of him, like trying to redeem him as a character, totally landed flat with me. It did not work at all. I thought MODOK was a gigantic strike in this movie, every aspect of him.
I was excited about it, but the more I thought about it, it again felt like the wrong shaped peg trying to get fit into a hole. Correct. This was supposed to be like Psycho Man in a lot of ways, like you're supposed to get a guy who could dial up the emotions and like really scare you and like destroy an entire like town or whatever in like a span of seconds simply by doing a dial. This is great. It gets toys. It's everything you want. But they thought they had a great, like, we can get 5 eggs in one basket with this one character and tie up a lot of loose ends. But it felt forced and tropey like a lot of the other things. There is one other thing that I thought that they did nail, though. And I thought it was fun that Scott Lang and Jimmy Woo finally got that lunch that they were.
Yeah, I chuckled. I chuckled. I think this movie lacks too from Woo. Like there's so many great side characters that came up in these Ant-Man movies that are really underutilized. Like his crew, like Luis Guzman doing his whole thing with the story. I think that we lacked from something like that. I think that there was not enough like human touches in this movie to make it work. And I think that's what kind of disappointed me the most about this movie is I feel like what made the last two really strong were absent from this outing, stuff like that.
They tried to do it with the Cassie and Scott in Otherworld in the battle, but it's just kind of a little bit too much and too tonally conflicting with each other to do it.
Agreed. But,
all right. Damien has one last question that we'll hit upon, and then we're going to take this home. Look, the special effect bad on purpose. Love and Thunder also had FX issues, and there have been a lot of talk about the way Marvel overworks their CGI contractors. Okay.
How about this?
I'm going to freely admit this here. I was tired, and I was in an IMAX, and I was visually overwhelmed. So if something looked bad, I was just already like wrap around, like overwhelmed by the sight sound. So probably, but the whole thing, JD, take it from there.
I saw this in a regular theater. I'm blind in one eye, so the 3D doesn't really work for me. So I tend to see movies just like, as boring as possible. I agree. I think Marvel's been overworking their CG animators, and I thought this one had better special effects and better color grading than most of the movies. I think that it looked like shit. Did they steer into it on purpose? I don't know, but I agree. Love and Thunder did have some visual effects issues, a lot of their stuff has been having some vision. I think people are going a
TV
little
shows
hard
have
on
a lot of
a lot
visual
of them
effects
too.
issues.
I think people are going a little hard on it personally, but he looked like shit. And I don't know if it was going to look like shit, I wanted them to play into looking like shit a little bit instead of just giving me a special effect that looked like shit and, presenting it. So I don't know. It wasn't bad enough to make me think they were doing it on purpose, but it wasn't that good for me to not ask that question. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I am not I don't look at a movie and be like, wow, those special effects are bad, unless they're like so
Yeah, me too.
horrifically bad
Mhm.
that like reporters and journalists and articles are being written about like this never should have been released in this state. That's the part where I'll probably notice it, but I'm very casual when it comes to like the special effects. If it's passable, I'm fine with it. If it's beautiful, I'm gonna tell everybody like far and wide, this fucking movie is beautiful. This fucking movie is beautiful.
What
But
was
I'm
the
not
movie?
gonna. But I can't scrutinize the little stuff.
There was a movie that came out a couple years ago. Might have been a year ago now. When it had the special effects were so atrociously bad that they had to go back and like fix large chunks of it and wound up spending a lot of money. I cannot remember the movie off the top of my head, but it was one that even I went, oh, it was. I don't remember. I really don't remember.
Yeah.
There was a movie that came was a superhero movie, and I cannot remember which one it was. But I remember looking at this, going, "Man, these special effects look terrible."
I feel like the Marvel shows, they run fast and loose with the quality of their special effects. But I understand that I'm getting a show on like Disney Plus, like, and I know that what we're still paying monthly and it's expensive and all that, but TV and movies still feel like a different property to me.
The Mandalorian looks pretty good every week, and they found a way to do that in a budget.
The new
I didn't
was
see
a lot
Willow.
of
I
fun.
need to see that one. I've heard good things.
I just like going around at my work yelling in an old crone voice, Willow!
Willow was an underrated gem back in the day.
Yes.
I liked that one.
It was. The new show's Top Flight. The Sonic movie, they had to redo that one.
I remember that one.
Those Sonic movies are actually really good.
They are.
I watched them a couple weeks ago because I was really bored. And good use of my time. So,
my kid loves those movies. He is a gigantic Sonic the Hedgehog fan, so they land with their audience.
They do. I agree. Does anybody have any orange slices right now? Where we go? Anyone have any orange slices? Callback is fun because I want an orange slice right now. I think we're gonna wrap this show.
I can go for an orange.
Yeah, let's do that. What are your socials?
You can find me at JD_Oliva on Twitter, and I have a Hive account too. Haven't been on Hive in a couple months. They really pooched that. But yeah, if you can find me on Twitter, best place for me, and then all the cool places Fight Game Media is at.
Nice. You can find me at Jer Finestone on Twitter. We also have a brand new Discord at Fight Game Media. You can email gg@fightgamemedia.com for an invite. He will get you in there. We talk about AEW. We talk about WWE. We talk about New Japan. We talk about everything. We have lifestyle, the community. We just talk about everything. It's a fun, welcoming environment. If you want to join, send him an email. And with that, I wish you well, JD. Thank you for joining me here. And let's go home.
Let's do it.